Since our arrival, I've been frightfully busy unpacking the 22 boxes and crates of drugs and instruments, cleaning up the house and so on. My shack is really topping. I've got a big living room kitchen, a bedroom, and a dispensary consulting room. A few yards in front runs a narrow trail, which is the main road north. My house is on the bank of the first Battle River, 50 feet above the stream. The river is very stony and rapid. There's a ford across it not far from my home. The water comes above the hubs of wagon wheels, and I haven't seen a car get across without horses to help it yet. They've just started to build a bridge over the river above the ford. So far, they've only got the wooden framework up, but it's possible to cross. It's rather a nightmare in one place, as there is only 2 planks along 20 feet of it, 50 feet above the water, and very springy. Well, that's the way I have to cross. It is impossible in a wind. The bridge engineer informed me that they'd only put 2 planks down so that they'd have a chance to help me across. As I have managed without their help, they've added a 3rd plank. Friday night, there was a dance in the schoolhouse 4 miles away. It was a shriek. There's just one big room. You hung your coat and hat on the nail and powdered your nose in full view of the world. Well, there were crowds more men than women, and half the women were half-breeds. The men wore their ordinary clothes, pretty grubby, most of them. Their boots ranged from hobnailed clogs to riding boots and galoshes and moccasins, and you can imagine what my feet felt like by morning. There were no programs. In fact, you didn't even have one dance with a man. Every now and then, another man would come up behind the one you were dancing with, tap him on the shoulder, and then go off with you. Well, as there were lots more men than women, this happened pretty often. The music was one violin and one mandolin played by Mr. and Mrs. Fife. But as she could only play in one key, the tunes were a bit limited. I've really been pretty busy the last 2 or 3 weeks. I did over 150 miles on horseback last week. Really, one needs the strength of an Amazon. If there's ever much sickness about, I shall need help. There's hardly any illness about just now. I've seen mainly accidents and oddments. I saw 5 fractures in 5 weeks. The one that's taken up so much time is a little girl of 7. As she broke her arm, also dislocated her elbow, a beastly mess. Her brother, age 12, came to fetch me. I think he's the bravest kid I have ever met. He had to ride 15 miles after dark, ford 2 rivers, and come through a wood in which he'd seen bear tracks to get me. He didn't get here till 1 a.m. We didn't get back there till 5:45 a.m. as his horse went lame. And the fatherly way he looked after me was most delightful. It was bitterly cold and he wasn't very warmly clad. He must have been nearly done when we got there. He insisted he wasn't tired though. Sunday, August 4th. Oh, I had a real day out yesterday. The Premier, 2 MPs, and the principal of Alberta University and some other big bugs came up to view the new bridge. They made sundry speeches, all the most frightfully complimentary about me, and most of them called on me. Thank heaven I finished scrubbing the floor before the first one arrived. I trotted around with them and generally behaved as though I was used to the society of prime ministers. The locals were most impressed. I'll have to get a hold of the Edmonton Journal with the reports in if I can. I gather this district has the finest wheat crop in Alberta this year. It certainly is lovely to look on. Mr. Scammermore is the owner of the finest crop around here, and he says he can hardly sleep at night for fear something will happen before he gets it harvested. He's been out here 18 months, and that crop means everything to him. There is a stag of homesteading. You can't get a penny out of the land in less than 2 years, and if anything happens to that crop, you go broke. I'm right on the main road, and all the world goes past my door, sometimes a dozen vehicles a day. Lots of horses. I see the homesteaders coming in. All now nationalities, except British. But it is thrilling to see them. The men, their wives, their families, stoves, bedsteads, and pots and pans, and sometimes children's toys and violins and other weird oddments on the wagon, an odd cow or two or an odd dog or two running behind. The whole procession moving at about 3 miles an hour. There's something astounding about their courage. When they first arrive miles from anywhere, they've just got to camp out as best they can until the man has built them a house. Did I tell you what the family I found in a tent? Man, woman, and 11 children. The whole about 2 inches underwater after the rain. The baby had whooping cough. And why the name of wonder it hadn't got pneumonia beat me. They'd only been out here 2 weeks, but the man got his house as far as the roof. Well, pretty good work, seeing that his timber was 4 miles away. I went out to Mr. McLean's last night to get my hair cut. He's homesteading, but I had worked in a barber shop once. He wasn't in, but his wife is an attractive woman, and joy, she's got a piano. Oh, it is the only piano possibly in 100 miles, and it's in good tune. I've got a standing invitation to go play. Hurrah! She is a city-bred woman and knows a lot of music I know. So will you please send my music out? I want particularly Chopin's Nocturnes, a Rachmaninoff melody, the Moonlight Sonata.